about a minute away from Yale University. We're going to 149 Elm Street, which is where we're going to watch a video for a couple of minutes about Yale, an introduction, and then we're going to begin an official tour of the university. I'm really excited about Yale. It's one of my favorite Ivies to go see. I think it is my favorite Ivy to go see. So let's get ready, let's get settled, and we look forward to it. There are restrooms at the Visitors Center if we need. And also the video is great, and then we'll have tour guides, and we're getting ready to go. So looking forward to it. Hi Yale, I'm excited to see you.
Yeah, I have a question. Why did you choose Yale?
When I was a senior in high school, colleges called out my name. Every day I debate where to matriculate, but every place seemed the same. Yet after I went through the options, only one choice remained. I wanted to hail from a college called Yale.
Now let me explain.
It's a place where you'll learn quintessential knowledge, and you can live in a residential college, and you can put your hearts into all the liberal arts, and that's why I chose Yale. Of course you'll get a first-rate education, but also thrive on class-based conversation, 'cause here is where we thread Shakespeare's studies and pre-med. Oh, and that's why I chose Yale.
So like we love watching the movies. It gets us all pumped up about how much we love Yale and things like that. But all that, there are that many student groups, the residential colleges, the freshman counselors, the dining halls, the libraries. It was all filmed on Yale. Those are all Yale students, so it really is very authentic. We don't sing that much, but anything else that you guys want to know about Yale? So, yeah? Wonderful. But do you guys want anybody else? Anybody else? Anybody else? I know a lot about Yale. Maybe not everything, but cool. You can ask some questions. Okay. I want to ask you a couple of questions. Okay. Because we have a really great diverse group of students here. Some are younger, some a little older. We're from Queens. Forest Hills is where we're at the base, but the kids are mainly from all different boroughs. If you could tell us why should he choose Yale? What is it? Why should he aspire for Yale?
Well, there are a lot of different reasons that a lot of students decide that Yale is the best place for them to go to college. One of them is because Yale is an amazing academic institution. So students from here take very rigorous classes, and then once they graduate, they really do get into a lot of graduate professional schools and jobs. So Yale, great academics, but that's not the main reason that a lot of students go here. There is kind of an ambiance here on campus, a feeling on campus of happiness and passion and things like that. Yale students really love to be here. They're so grateful for the opportunity that they have to study here, but they're also grateful for the opportunity that they have to grow as people. Students become involved in lots of different activities, and they do lots of independent projects. Students do their own research, they write their own books, they start their own companies while they're here at Yale. So that was kind of when I came on campus, I had read about Yale and I knew that it was a great school, but that's the feeling that I got when I took my campus tour. I saw students walking around me who were happy, who were excited, who were loving the books that they were reading. They were chatting as they walked to class. They were throwing a football out on cross campus. So students really enjoy themselves while they're here at Yale. And that was really apparent for me when I started walking around. So it's hard to exactly describe the Yale sort of feeling that we all love, but it really is a big factor in my decision, and I think in your decision about how well you can see yourself fitting in on a campus.
So great. And my follow-up question to that is, if you could pick one thing that you absolutely love the most, from everything else, what tops your list of things you love about Yale? Number one.
Ooh, I would have to say my professors. I've really cultivated a great relationship with my teachers here at Yale. I thought I loved my high school teachers, but then I got to college and I realized that not only am I learning from these amazing professors, but they're able to have a personal relationship with me. So I go to my professor's office hours to ask for help writing my papers. I took an English class, and at the end of the semester, the professor invited us over to her house to have tea, and we chatted about how the class went and things like that. So the professors really do have a relationship with students. Then on top of that, they really are the most amazing people in their field. So they're doing the best research, they're doing the things that are getting published, they're getting Nobel Prizes and things like that. Hi there. So sometimes I tell the experience of once I was home, I was watching CNN and I turned it on and there was my psychology professor talking about some of the research that he was doing right on the news. So that's the same professor that I email back and forth. He has me call him by his first name and things like that. So you really have a great relationship with professors that are the best of the best here at Yale.
So awesome. Thank you so much for going to begin our tour. And
Sounds
before we
good.
start, I want to do one quick group picture, and my Yale t-shirts have to go on.
California, so I traveled quite a long way to get here to Yale. I'm about to start my senior year here at Yale. I'm studying psychology. Right now I'm here over the summer because I'm doing summer research. So I work over at the medical school at what's called the Child Study Center. I work with children and families doing research. At Yale, I take a lot of classes, do a lot of schoolwork, but I also do some fun things. At Yale, I'm part of a couple community service groups on campus. So I work here in the New Haven community. I'm also part of religious life on campus, and I work with administration and student groups surrounding issues of student wellness and mental health. In my free time, I read, I compete with the mock trial team, I sing, all sorts of things like that. So if you have any questions about those things in particular, let me know, or questions about anything. So what's gonna happen is we're gonna walk around campus for about an hour. I'm gonna give you the spiel all about the history of Yale, all about student life, all sorts of things. This is a music building here at Yale. There are a lot of music classrooms and practice rooms in here. But we also standing right in front of the New Haven Green. So this is really the center of downtown New Haven. The Green is the centermost square in the city, and it's used for a lot of community events here in New Haven, and as well as there are a couple churches right here on the Green. New Haven is a big city. It's about 125,000. It is a little bit smaller than New York. And it was founded in 1638. When it was founded, it was the first planned city here in the US. That means that before New Haven was organized, people kind of made cities by putting whatever buildings wherever they wanted to. So there would be schools next to houses, next to shopping centers, things like that. When the organizers of New Haven set out to create a city, they outlined a grid system. So they made a 3x3 grid, and they said what would go in each square. So this, right behind us, the green, is the centermost square of that city. So the green was set out originally as a grazing space for everyone's livestock in the city, but slowly it became to be a community center. It was then the home of the churches of New Haven. So what would happen was people would go to church here out on the Green, and they also started to make graveyards here on the Green. So the people who went to the church, once they would die, they would bury them behind the church in the church graveyards. But New Haven started growing as a city, and it became a little bit problematic to have these huge graveyards right in the town center. So what they did is they decided to move the graveyards up to Grove Street. There's a large cemetery there now. So they dug up all the headstones and they moved them to the new graveyard. But they didn't exhume the bodies. So the bodies are actually still under the Green today. So when you're having a picnic out on the Green, just think how many bodies you're sitting on top of. That's a cool story about the Green. So in addition to being the first planned city here in the US, New Haven is the home of a couple other firsts. It's the home of the first hamburger. So the story goes that at a place called Louis' Lunch, which is a couple blocks in this direction, there once was a businessman who was having lunch. He, however, got a note during his lunch that he had to go immediately to a very important meeting. Now, in order to make it to the meeting, he grabbed a meat patty off of the grill, he put it in between 2 slices of bread, and thus he made the first hamburger. So they have delicious hamburgers at Louis' Lunch, and they're very famous. New Haven is also the home of the first Frisbee. So there once was a pie company here in New Haven. It was called Miss Frisbee's Pies. They made delicious pies that Yale students would buy whenever they needed a study break. So they would take those pies, they would eat them, and then they would flatten the pie tins and throw them at each other. Now, after a couple people got hit in the face, they realized that they needed to tell people that the pie tins were coming in their direction. So they would yell Frisbee whenever they threw the pie so no one got hit. Thus, the Frisbee was born right here in New Haven from Miss Frisbee's pie tins. So that's a little bit about the history of New Haven. As you can see, New Haven is a pretty busy, bustling city. That means there are lots of opportunities for Yale students to become involved in the city of New Haven. There's lots of things to do. We go out to eat here in New Haven. New Haven has great food. There are great movie theaters. There are also lots of community events here in New Haven. We just finished up the International Festival of Arts and Ideas. It was a really great festival with artists from all around the world. Me and my friends went to concerts as part of that. We saw some outdoor art exhibits. It was great. There are lots of opportunities to do fun things here in New Haven as a student. Does anyone have any questions about New Haven? Sounds good, then we'll move along. So now we're gonna walk towards Old Campus, which is the oldest part of Yale. We'll talk a little bit about the history of Yale, and then we'll talk about the area that we're in. As you can tell from the name, this is the oldest part of Yale. So this is a good place for us to talk a little bit about the history of Yale. So we're going to start at the beginning. Yale was founded in 1701, so that was over 300 years ago. But when it was first founded, it wasn't called Yale, and it wasn't here in New Haven. It was founded in a place called Killingsworth, Connecticut, which is a couple miles outside of New Haven, and it was originally called the Collegiate School. At its origin, Yale was just 6 students and 1 tutor in the basement of that tutor's house, going over their studies and learning new things. They slowly started to grow and accumulate more students and teachers, until in 1714, they attracted the attention of a man named Mr. Jeremiah Dummer, who was our first major benefactor. He gave us some English pounds, some books, to really help us get on our feet and growing. We then attracted the city of New Haven. By that time, we had enough students and professors that the collegiate school was becoming a pretty legitimate university. And New Haven decided that it wanted to invite the collegiate school to relocate here to be the university for the city of New Haven. So as you remember, New Haven had set out a plan for the city, and they had set aside 1 block to be a university. So that this block that we're standing on here right now, that's the block that the city of New Haven gave to the collegiate school to move. So we moved here and began our time here in New Haven. After that, we attracted the attention of a man named Mr. Elihu Yale, who, as you can tell from his name, is pretty important. So Mr. Yale decided to give us even more money to help us continue growing. He gave us even more pounds, even more books, and a portrait of King George II. So Mr. Yale was a merchant with the British East India Trading Company. So when we learned of his generous donation, we decided to change our name to honor him. So we changed our name from the collegiate school to Yale College. So that's how we got the name Yale. We wrote a letter to Mr. Yale telling him that we'd changed our name, you know, to make him proud and maybe encourage him to give us a little more money. So we sent that news off to him in a letter. However, when we wrote that letter, Mr. Yale, as you remember, he was a merchant, so he was actually away on a sea voyage. During that trip, he contracted a seaborne illness and he actually died, so he never received our letter telling us that we changed our name. He did, however, in his will, left a large sum of his fortune to the school to continue his generous donation, but he left it to the collegiate school, not Yale College. Since we had changed our name, we were never allowed to claim the money. But we're so grateful to be called Yale University. We're so grateful for Mr. Yale and the opportunity that we have to be named after him. Because if it wasn't for Mr. Yale's donation, we would have had to name ourselves after our first benefactor. If you remember, that man's name was Mr. Jeremiah Dummer. We would be Dummer University instead of Yale University. We would be Dummies instead of Yaleys. So we're so thankful to be called Yale. So that's a little bit about how Yale was founded. The area that we're standing on, if you remember, it's called Old Campus, and this is where the freshmen live their first year here at Yale. So most of the buildings surrounding us are freshman dorm buildings, so these have bedrooms in them that the freshmen live in. There are a few exceptions. This building right here with the red brick, this is Connecticut Hall. It's actually the oldest standing structure here in New Haven. It was built in 1730, so a very long time ago. Connecticut Hall used to be a dorm building. This is what the dorm buildings looked like at Yale when Yale first came here to New Haven. There were 2 red brick buildings just like these 2 right here, and then there were rows of buildings like that coming down. So that's what the students used to live in. All the other dorm buildings came down. A couple of famous alumni have lived in Connecticut Hall. Noah Webster, if you know the Webster's Dictionary. Eli Whitney, who's the man who invented the cotton gin. President Taft, who was the president of the United States at one point in time. They've all lived here in Connecticut Hall. Now Connecticut Hall is the home of the philosophy department. We also have Dwight Hall, which is the resident of the community service organizations here at Yale. And Battelle Chapel is in the corner over there. That's where a lot of religious services happen here on campus. That's a little bit about Old Campus. Does anyone have any questions? Yes. We're going to talk about this statue.
What year was this building built?
1730. Yep, so almost Mr. Yale. This is Nathan Hale. He's a very famous Yale graduate. He graduated from Yale in 1773. He's also Connecticut State Hero, and that's because he was America's first spy. So even though Nathan Hale was America's first spy, he was probably also the worst spy. So Nathan Hale graduated from Yale during the American Revolutionary War. So right after he graduated, Mr. George Washington, who was a general at that time, put out a call for men to enlist as spies with the Revolutionary forces. Nathan Hale was the only man who volunteered, so he was immediately enlisted and became a colonial spy. So he was sent behind British enemy lines right away, and the story goes that on his first night in British territory, he went to a bar, maybe had a little bit too much to drink, and proudly announced to the man sitting next to him that he was so excited to be a spy. Unfortunately, the man next to him was a British soldier, so he was immediately arrested and tried for treason. He actually was found guilty and was hanged, so he died very shortly after he became a spy. We get from Nathan Hale his famous last words, "I only regret that I have but one life to give for my country." So he's a very famous person here in Connecticut. In 1917, after Yale built this statue, the CIA decided that they wanted it. So they petitioned Yale to have the statue, and Yale denied their request. So Yale said that Yale was going to keep the statue. The CIA wasn't too happy about that. So during one evening, under the cover of darkness, the CIA spy agents scaled over the back of Welch Hall. They jumped down, they ran over here, they jumped up onto this platform, and they made a plaster cast of the statue. So what they did is they made a mold of the statue. They then took that mold to make themselves a statue to put at their headquarters in Langley, Virginia. So if you were to go to the CIA headquarters, you would see an exact replica of this Nathan Hale statue, but just know that it was stolen from us here at Yale. We have the real one. What a lot of people don't know about this statue is it isn't actually of Nathan Hale. So during the time when Nathan Hale was living, you only got a portrait made of you if you were very famous or very rich. Nathan Hale wasn't any of those things. He was a very young man when he died, and he didn't have a considerable fortune. So when Yale decided they wanted to make a statue of him, they realized that they didn't really know what he looked like. So what the president of Yale did is he lined up all of the people in the graduating class of Yale 1917. At that point, Yale only had male students, so that's a big line of men. He set them out here on Old Campus in a big line, and he asked them to strike their most patriotic pose. He then walked down the line of men and picked the one that looked the most patriotic to be the model of this statue of Nathan Hale. So this isn't actually Nathan Hale, this is just the most attractive man in the Yale class of 1917. Any questions?
Do we get like good luck?
Important one here at Yale. We're all gonna gather around so we can talk about this guy. Very serious man seated behind me is Mr. Theodore Woolsey, who was the president of Yale from 1846 to 1871. He's famous for a couple of things, but he's probably most famous for his good luck. So Mr. Woolsey loved intercollegiate slowly started to believe that Mr. Woolsey indeed had a lucky foot. The Yale student body still believes that to this day. If you can see, this toe is a different color than the rest of the statue, and that's because students, when they can, they come up and rub the toe for good luck. So whenever they need some luck, maybe on a test, on a sporting match, on a date, they'll come up and they'll rub the toe for some good luck. You guys are welcome to rub the toe to get your own little bit of luck from Mr. Woolsey. Standing inside Saybrook College. This is my residential college, so I can easily tell you that it's the best of all the residential colleges. So Yale has 12 residential colleges total. So the college has about 5,300 undergraduates, so that means that in each residential college there are about 400 students. Now the term residential college can be a bit of a confusing one since it's a little bit of a living system that's unique to Yale. So the residential college is a physical space. This building right here is the Saybrook building, but it's also a community. So the students in Saybrook really get to know each other, and that's a sense of community for them while they're here at Yale. We use the analogy of Harry Potter to kind of explain this. If you guys have ever read Harry Potter, you know that there are 4 houses at Harry Potter. The students are sorted into Harry Potter, and then they're in that house. They're in Gryffindor, they're in Hufflepuff for the rest of the time at Hogwarts. That's the same way that it works here at Yale. Before you get here as a Yale freshman, you're placed randomly into a residential college, and that's your residential college for the next 4 years. So you're affiliated with that residential college, you cheer for that residential college at the intramural sports games, you go to activities at that residential college, and your sophomore through junior year, you live here in the residential college. If you remember the place that we were just at, Old Campus, those are where the freshman dorms are. So the freshmen live there on Old Campus all together to give them a chance to bond with their class. And then as a sophomore, you move into your residential college, into the dorm rooms here. Residential colleges have lots of different facilities. So as I said, they have dorm rooms, students live here. There are also dining halls in each residential college, library, a gym, laundry room. There's TV rooms, movie theaters, some of them have dance studios, some of them have pottery studios, printing press, so a lot of different cool facilities. Basically everything you need to live and have fun here in the college. My favorite part of the residential colleges are probably the butteries. These are late night food joints where you can go down to the basement between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. and get all sorts of different food that the student employees are cooking. You can get quesadillas, you can get cheese sticks, all sorts of things like that. We're gonna go ahead and, oh, they're gonna go around us. Hey, Kyle. So that's my favorite part of the residential colleges are the butteries, but the residential colleges are also a real sense of community. A lot of my friends are here in the residential college. You go on activities together. We go on an apple picking trip in the fall as Saybrook. I went skiing with Saybrook during the winter. So we go on, yeah, our master every now and then, he'll put together trips to New York to see Broadway shows. He's a jazz musician, so sometimes we'll go to a jazz club in the area with him. So there are really great opportunities to really get to know the students in your residential college. And it really is your community here at Yale. I really like the residential college system because Yale's a medium-sized university. I knew I didn't want to go to too small of a school because I wanted a school with a lot of resources, a lot of funds, a lot of professors, a lot of books. 5,300, so it's about medium-sized. But you get that. So you get that big school feel with the amount of resources that you have, but then you have that small sense of community here in your residential college, so you don't ever feel overwhelmed. I know that I can go into the Saybrook dining hall and there's always going to be someone that I know to eat with. You guys have any questions about the residential colleges, how that works? Then we'll keep walking. Because it's shaped like a cross. There's one pathway going down right here, and then there's one perpendicular to that. It's also a cross that it's in here. We have the library, some classrooms down in this direction. So this is cross campus. It's shaped like a cross. There's a pathway coming straight down, and there's a perpendicular one across. But it's also a cross of academic and social life here at Yale. So academically, you have the biggest library at Yale behind us. Then you have some classroom buildings down in this direction. You also have some social buildings here. You have Berkeley Residential College. We were just in Saybrook Residential College. Berkeley Residential College, both half of it, Berkeley North and Berkeley South, are right here next to us. Behind Berkeley, you have Calhoun Residential Colleges, so some students live in this area. Their residential college is here. This is also a social space. During the year especially, you'll see students out on the lawn here reading their books, doing their homework, just lounging. You see pickup soccer games there, things like that. So this is really an area where lots of students cross as they're walking to class. I cross this area probably 2 or 3 times a day as I'm walking to my classrooms and to the library. The building behind us is one of the most famous buildings at Yale. This is our largest library. It's called Sterling Memorial Library. There are 12 million books here at Yale, and 4 million of them are housed in Sterling Memorial Library. 12 million. It's the second largest library collection in the US. So not inside of Sterling right now because it's under remodeling. So because it's an old building, they do have to, during the summers especially, they use the time to refurbish it and make sure that it's still structurally sound. So it's an old library here at Yale, houses 4 million books. There are 15 floors of library bookshelves up through the top. Students use this space to do their research. They get a lot of the books for their sources, and they use it as a study space. There are lots of study areas here at Yale in the Sterling Memorial Library. It was designed by a famous architect named James Gamble Rogers, who is a Yale graduate. After he graduated from Yale, he went to England and he studied old collegiate Gothic architecture at schools like Oxford and Cambridge. He then came back to Yale and started designing buildings for us. He designed Saybrook College that we just walked through. He designed a lot of the classroom buildings, and he designed this library, all in the collegiate Gothic style. So after designing a couple of buildings for Yale, he decided that in order to be a great architect, he needed to design a great Gothic cathedral. So he drew up plans for a beautiful old Gothic looking cathedral, and he presented them to Yale. Yale looked at the plans and decided that they didn't need the building. Yale already had a great chapel. Yale was a secular school. They did not need a cathedral. So James Gamble Rogers went back to his drawing board, crossed out cathedral, wrote library, and thus the Sterling Memorial Library was born. So it really does, and it was intended to look like an old Gothic cathedral. She's famous because she designed the Vietnam War Memorial in Washington, D.C. She also designed the Women's Table. This was built to commemorate women here at Yale. So Yale went co-ed in 1969. That's when we were first admitted to Yale, and since then the number of women has grown slowly over the years until now we're at a 50-50 ratio of women and men. If you see on this women's table, there are numbers inscribed in a circle around it. Those numbers represent the number of women here at Yale throughout the years. So you see a lot of zeros up there. That's because Yale was only men for a good many years. Then you'll see the numbers start to grow. Before 1969, when the undergraduate portion of Yale went co-ed, women were admitted into the graduate schools. So there were lots of women in the fine arts school, the graduate programs, the School of Nursing. So that's why the numbers slowly climb up until you'll see a big jump right in 1969. Any questions? This fountain is usually on. Students like to hang out. They do turn it off in the winter so it doesn't freeze. The building with the columns is Commons Dining Hall. That's our largest dining hall here on campus. There are 13 undergraduate dining halls. Commons is the biggest one. This building right here, Woodbridge Hall, is the offices of the president of Yale. So the president at Yale, his name is President Salovey. He works out of these offices. The main attraction here, though, is the Beinecke Library. The Beinecke is our rare books and manuscripts library here at Yale. So that means it houses the most delicate, the oldest, the rarest of our books. There are 800,000 books inside the Beinecke. We'll be able to walk through it after this. It's very beautiful. My favorite part of the Beinecke are actually the walls. The walls are made out of very thin marble that they hauled up from Vermont to be here. The marble is special because it allows light through but blocks UV rays. There are a lot of very rare books. Those books are delicate in the library and they can't have too much artificial lighting inside. So they realized that they needed to light the building using sunlight, but they had to block the UV rays from the sunlight because that could damage the books. So they selected this special marble and cut it very thin so the light can go through the marble to light the building. The Beinecke has very many rare and amazing books and resources in it. We're going to be able to see the Gutenberg Bible, which is the first book ever printed. It was printed in the 1450s. There are only 14 volumes of it in the entire world. We have one, so we'll be able to see that. Shakespeare's first folio is in the Beinecke Library. Emily Dickinson's original manuscripts, the first draft of Langston Hughes's Montage of a Dream Deferred, Thornton Wilder's playbook collection, the pen that Abraham Lincoln used to sign the Emancipation Proclamation. There are a couple of odd items in there too. Ezra Pound's teeth are in the Beinecke, along with a lock of Robert Louis Stevenson's hair. So a lot of really cool things in the Beinecke, and students can use those resources. So especially when they're writing a paper or doing a project, they can request resources from the Beinecke. The librarians pull out whatever books they need. They take you down to a special reading room. You put on special gloves so the oils from your hands doesn't damage the old books. And then you can do your research using those resources. So for some of my classes, I've gotten original poems from the Beinecke. I've gotten old books, old medical records to write my papers and do my work. Any questions about that? I'm a psychology major. So we're gonna go ahead and walk through the Beinecke. Movable type printing press in the world. There are only 14 volumes of this book in existence today. Yale has one of them right here. You have the Old Testament and the New Testament. We don't have two copies. As you can see, it's written in Latin. Yeah, no, I love you guys.
We love you.
No, I had a great time working with you and walking with you and talking with you. I hope you guys have a fun rest of the day, a good rest of your program, good summer. Everyone, past the Apple Store, you'll be at the bookstore.
Everyone take a picture with our tour guide.
What score do you have to get on the SAT to get into Yale?
So there's no one score that'll get you into Yale. If you look through our admissions materials, we do publish a range of scores that most students fall into, but there's no one cutoff for what you need to get into Yale. Students get a variety of scores, but they really look at your whole application. So it's important for you to study hard for the SAT and the ACT, but other parts of your application matter as well. So what activities you do, what grades you get in your classes, your involvement in your community, in your school. So that's kind of the way that we look at test scores.
So it's not just the scores, it's not well-rounded.
No, you have to be well-rounded. The application process is holistic. So that means they look at all parts of your application equally to decide if Yale is the best fit for you.
reasons I chose Yale was for its housing system. Before students arrive as freshmen, they're randomly assigned to one of 12 smaller communities called residential colleges. These colleges have nothing to do with academic subjects or extracurricular activities, but rest assured, they're quite a bit more than just living spaces. Excuse me.
Yeah, admissions officer?
Tell us a bit more about residential colleges.
Sure thing. Students here at Yale come from everywhere around, with every type of interest that can possibly be found. Do our passions divide us? No, our colleges provide us with family and common ground. For all 4 years we'll all reside together in colleges, united by pride, with such great facilities to hone your abilities. You'll never want to go outside.
Every college has a dining hall with a salad bar and grill, and organic options for every meal.
I'm gonna eat my fill.
Each one has a common room which we could not live without, to study or to meet in groups or simply to hang out.
And when the dining halls are closed, there's butteries for snacks.
And if you need a study break, there's game rooms to relax.
I can get to my college library without stepping foot outside.
Just right down the hallway, my clothes are washed and dried.
I work out in my college gym, a mere 2 floors below. Then I meet my friends for rehearsal in the dance studio.
There are tons of music practice rooms where I can hone my skills. We even have a movie theater.
This one always gives me chills.
We don't have normal dorms at Yale. Instead we live in suites. So you may have a roommate. Oh, we have matching sheets. Outside there's a common room, so come and stay a while. There's space for couches and TVs, or a lava lamp if that's your style.
Head of every college is a master and a dean. They live with us and eat with us and everything between. Am I taking the right class?
Will these credits suffice?
I've got the flu, need a pass.
Can I get some advice?
What's a good summer program?
This fellowship's nice.
Thank goodness that we have our dean.
A master brings us all together as our senior prof, hosting study breaks and lectures for when we need time off.
Would like to see a Broadway show, I'll gladly subsidize. Let's host another concert, I'll proudly harmonize. There's free food in the evening for all of you to share, and a master's tea tomorrow too. I hope to see you there.
Master's teas are a chance to see all your favorite celebrities, hear their stories and ask advice.
Which is why I had to interview him twice.
Residential colleges, come give a cheer. A place to call our home for all 4 years. A sense of unity, immense community, our friendships will prevail. Whoa,
That's why I chose Yale.
But when you do step outside your residential college, who knows what you might run into? mostly I chose Yale for its superb academic opportunities.
I came to Yale because I wanted to learn, and I wanted to learn from the best. I was tired of memorizing figures and facts just to pass another test. Last year I spent the summer abroad. I helped to monitor a foreign election, and now I volunteer at a law school clinic on human rights protection.
I wanna be an architect someday. I wanna help save a city that's dying. That's why I needed a school that would push me to see that my coursework has a grounding in reality. Now I grasp the bigger picture, my perspective has a different scale. That's why I chose Yale. I came to Yale from across the world because I wanted a global education. Now I'm bringing clean water to the countries that need it through the H2O Africa Foundation. I'm taking a class called Philosophy of Art to see where truth and beauty connect. What is the concept of art and why should we care? Where do Plato and Picasso intersect?
I study real world problems that need to be solved because the climate's changing fast. I'm working on a project I designed myself for submission to a conference on the polar ice shelf. With the faculty's help, I know that I won't fail. That's why I chose
How
Yale.
do I know which class to take? There's over 2,000 here.
More than 50 foreign languages. It's only our freshman year.
Well, as your freshman counselor, I was chosen by the dean. I'm a senior in this college, and I know just what you mean. The first 2 weeks of classes, take any course you choose. Then you pick your favorites. There's no way you can lose.
So Ibsen was the first to put real life on the stage.
What about William Shakespeare?
Well, that's a nice point.
Then we will meet again at 9, and I should have a draft of the paper ready by then.
So are you using the heterogeneous catalyst or the homogeneous catalyst for this reaction?
Well, naturally.
And when it's time to study for that intensive course, and you're looking for the perfect results, Yale's libraries have got what you need. Dozens of collections sure to help you succeed. Within this mountain of books, between these walls, you'll find music and film, ancient maps and all. You're one for none. Someone clearly thought of every detail.
Do you mind? This is a library.
Sorry.
That's why I chose Yale. Everyone here is on a similar mission, where great classes and professors are a campus tradition. The students are able and the classes are small, so go audition all your courses in the lecture hall. And come on people, time to hit the ignition, in science or in chemistry or as a musician. Meet your professors over coffee or dinner, with their help you're sure to be an academic winner. We're housed in suites in our residential colleges, there's no debating it, everyone acknowledges we got it made, with a master and a dean and a freshman counselor to show us the scene. Residential colleges give spirit and unity to every single person in the Yale community. We eat there and we study and we joke and relax, and go to master season study breaks for nighttime snacks. Whoa, whoa, whoa. That's why we chose Yale.
All right then.